Welcome everyone to the live episode of S1E1 bonus show celebrating 100 episodes. As always, I'm Jay Gags. With me is Nick, Goro, Joe, and Fur. Guys, what's going on?
Heyo.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Yo.
So this is our first time going live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube right now. So both links are active. We see some people in the chat. So what's up to everybody? Very cool to test this out for the first time. Hello, Kay. First time. I think you met us through YouTube.
He was helping us troubleshoot.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So what's going on, everyone?
Hi, Sean.
Hey.
Hi, Screen Punch Gaming. I'm guessing that's Doug. What's up, Doug?
So this is our first live show. We wanted to do something special to celebrate 100 episodes. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to test something different. This is our first time doing anything live. So this could go, I don't know,
horribly
very wrong. Yeah, so for all we know, but we're gonna give it the old college try. We don't have a strict format, I think, as far as this goes. We want to get in there, chat. I think this was a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about our history, what kind of got us to this point of doing this show. Kind of educate you guys on the backstory that became S1E1, and then kind of go over some stuff from the shows, the last 100, and kind of take it from there.
If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to.
Yeah. Chat seems very active, which is very cool to see. So
that's very cool. Remember to smash that like button.
Yeah, like, subscribe, do everything. Go to S1E1pod.com. Anyone who's live now probably knows how to get there, but anyone who's listening to us on the audio version that we plan to release later on, S1E1pod.com.
Also send Gordo Top Gun questions so he can prove that he's seen the movie.
I have seen the movie twice.
Really never seen Top Gun, dude.
Really quick side note about this Top Gun controversy. It's been like 2 weeks now. We've been ragging on Gordo for not having seen Top Gun. And although he says he's seen it, it's apparent that he has not. You would think he would have watched it in the past 2 weeks.
I know, he's had so many opportunities.
I'm not doing it. Not doing it. And I have seen it twice. I saw it once in the theater.
He's doubling down now. Yeah, he's pretending that he saw it twice.
I've seen it twice.
Nicole, how's it going? Thank you for hitting that love button instead of the like button. Thank you very much.
I didn't know there was a love button.
But I've seen it twice. I've seen it in the Somerville Theater when they played it on film. They brought it back for a day. I saw it then.
When was it? I'm going to look it up.
I don't, like 4 years ago? Like,
bullshit.
Russ chiming in, Seinfeld is better than Friends. You know what's funny? If you were to go by our votes, Friends did better than Seinfeld. But I think Friends was our episode 1. And I think if we were to rewatch and do that show now, we're basically the same show for 100 episodes, but I think we would go with a different eye. So I'm not entirely sure. Oh, thank you.
He's age play. Gordo, he's Gordo.
The voice of reason, baby.
You're not.
That's
you're the bomb
Nick.
thrower.
You're the bomb thrower.
Why am I the bomb thrower?
I don't know, because you throw bombs.
Yeah, we could do Dumb and Dumber quotes right there. Seinfeld is so much better. If I could pick one show to go back and change my vote on, it would be Friends.
I also feel like we're going to get into that in a little bit. I do want to get into that more as a segment piece down the road.
Oh, hey, there is a love button. We have one heart now. I just noticed.
The person who
are you new to Facebook?
I've never used that's Facebook on before. Facebook.
Yeah, because we're live on both. We're getting lies going over the motorcycle.
Goose was in the movie.
You know what's funnier about the Goose thing?
In the movie.
Yeah, but I just think you don't know what antagonist means. Is the
yes, I do. Ace was the antagonist. Ace 1 or whatever the fuck his name is.
Iceman. You haven't seen Ace Gun.
Ace 1? What the fuck, dude?
Just stop.
I've seen it.
Oh my god!
At this point, you could have at least read the Wikipedia summary, and you refused to.
All right,
Ace 1, because I am a man of integrity.
I love knowing that somewhere in Gordo's Google history now is things everyone knows about Top Gun.
Well, then he went to the wrong website. Hey, what's up, Scott?
Hey, Scott.
Jay
Ace
Moore
One.
show. I
I
haven't
love
seen
Jay
it. We'll have
Moore
to
and I
look that
love
up.
Fox 90s shows. Let's do it.
He
Love
actually
us some Fox.
this is my buddy from work. He gives great suggestions.
I'm
that
Again,
what
we've
you
enjoying, I
talked
am
about
yours?
this
enjoying this
podcast a
live
number of
format.
times, but the Jay Moore movie Mafia is a gem.
What did I see Jay
Mafia
Moore
is
in
great.
very recently?
Top Gun.
No.
Hey, let's just go with it. Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not?
So
He
I
was in
think we should kind of start a little bit at the beginning. I talked about this beforehand. So for those of you who don't know us but have listened to the show, you probably put together by now that we have been friends for a long time outside of doing this project. So, I mean, we're all in our mid-30s, but we've all been legitimately hanging out for 30 plus years. But this isn't the first project that any of us have done together. We've all kind of mixed and matched, done separate things together. So I'm trying to think of the proper timeline to go over any of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess at the beginning.
Yes, but I was saying which was the first one we did. I think the Fenway feed was probably the first
The Fenway
project any of us did.
feed was probably the first.
So Nick,
Actually,
you want to clue people in on the Fenway feed?
yeah, the Fenway feed was like, it was pre-podcasting.
Yeah, we did on
Dave says
MySpace,
bone
right?
death. That wasn't really any kind of.
That was me with no one in here, though.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't part of the Fenway feed, but Bone Death Fest, we were all pretty much a part of, right?
Yeah. We'll get in. We'll timeline it. So
I still got my
Fenway feed-
shirts. I can break them out.
Yeah.
Well, let's
I have them too, but they do not fit.
let's one at a time. Let's go over the Fenway feed first.
So the Fenway feed was essentially, it was based around MySpace, believe it or not. And the point of it was we literally recapped every game every day, right? I can't remember. We did it every day.
I think
Yeah.
just about every day. It was just nonstop Red Sox news. And it was funny because MySpace at the time, you could have it so when you opened up a
Excuse me.
profile, you picked a profile song. So we would just update the track every day and we would record ourselves talking about Red Sox news and just change our MySpace music every single day.
I remember reading box score. I was pumping gas at the time, and like in the booth we would hang out in, I would just read the box scores and write out what I was gonna say for that day. And I still have a bunch of. You can actually go listen to the Fenway, every episode of the Fenway feed that we have. It's on Bandcamp, so you
well,
can
you backed
go
it
and
up.
go to and there was no way to batch that process, so I had to do each individual episode in real time. So it took me like weeks to get it all up there, but I'll find the link. But if you just go search the Fenway feed on bandcamp.com, you should be able to find it. But yeah, that was our first intro. I've always been super into like radio, and that comes from Joe working at the gas station. All you had to do was listen to talk radio. Like that was it.
Yeah.
Music or talk radio or whatever. And I just kind of fell in love with it. So ever since then, like I've always had something going on where I was talking into a microphone, and I just found this on my computer.
The Fenway feed. The Fenway feed.
Oh, I looped it. But yeah, and then Gordo, at the time we were doing the ELR stuff too.
Well, hold on. First
Yeah.
off, to not jump ahead too much, we have a question from Dave up who's saying, how long did it run for as well? And I don't know, did we do a full like calendar season? Did we? I feel like we
So
ran it
if
out.
you remember, it was the 2007 season. We went on our baseball road trip, and when we came back, we never continued doing it, and the Red Sox ended up winning the World Series, and we could have really capitalized on the Fenway feed, and we did not.
So everybody thought you guys just like left and like moved someplace else.
I worked
And
my
that
butt
was-
off on some of those notes for that
It
show.
was tough. It
and
was one
It
of those
was.
things.
It was hard.
It was MySpace. There wasn't a platform like Nick said. There
No.
wasn't a
Thank you,
podcast
Jackie.
thing out there yet. So that was to clue you guys into. That was Nick, myself, Ferg, our friend Mike, Mikey D-Bag, as he's affectionately known, or Mr. Boston. And we did that
Famously now,
daily.
Mr. Boston.
And it was a lot of fun. And you don't want to like pat yourself on the back, but we were a little before our time. And I think
We were.
had
Yeah.
we stuck with it like for another year or so, like when podcasts started evolving and we jumped right on it, I think it could have been a really cool thing, but the time just wasn't.
What were we,
quite right.
19?
In 07? No, we were 21.
21, 22, you guys were.
We had
Yeah,
just turned
somewhere in that
21 because
area.
that's when we went on the road trip. But yeah, Dave and Gangrene TV cursed. We'll be talking about GGTV in a second.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of people in and out of the Fenway feed, actually. Dave, remind me, did you ever do one? I think you did a couple of them, actually, if I remember correctly.
I believe Dave's brother-in-law worked on some of them with us.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But the real problem with doing that stuff back then is there was nowhere to host it. Like like right now we're live and like it's super easy to do. In 2007, you had MySpace and that was it. Like to like upload your audio and so, you know, maybe we'll go back. Maybe we'll redo the Fenway feed. I hesitate to do it with this Red Sox team, but you never
Well,
That
know.
couldn't be
No,
fun
This,
right now.
this
They're
team's
9
gonna
and 0
surprise
and
you.
like they're 9 and 0 in the Grapefruit League.
Ooh.
Baseball is a commitment, though. Again, baseball is the longest season of any
We'll get
sport.
to
You're
that.
really, as you guys probably well know from doing that show, like you're going to be busy if you try to do that again.
Yeah, there's a reason why I don't do fantasy baseball. It's too much time.
It's too
Yeah,
much
it's
work.
very
yeah.
time consuming.
So what would be next on the timeline post that? What's
I
the next iteration of
think-
any project?
Did Beantown Broadcast and Gangrene run around the same time?
It must have.
I'm sure there was some crossover because I remember me and Dave visited the Beantown
Us.
broadcast as guests before.
Yeah, because right, yeah. So we did the Beantown Broadcast. I want to say either like 2009 or 2010
10 somewhere in that area.
or 8
Yeah.
or 9, and they started in 2008 because that was the year they won, right?
Yeah, 07 or 08.
And they ran for GGTV went like 10 years. Me and Jay did a lot of behind the scenes and like pre-recorded stuff. We were never like,
I was on a
were
few
you-
times,
were you on it live, Jay?
a handful of times, yeah, but I wasn't a consistent guy. So Dave from IAP Radio in a pickle, give him a follow. He was one of the main hosts. Him with Kurt and Adam, the three of them had run that show for a lot of years.
10
And,
it looks like.
Yeah,
10-year
10
run.
years.
Impressive.
So,
Go follow Dave, by the way, IAP Radio. He's got his own, sports-based podcast that's really interesting. So if you're into that stuff, it's not just Boston-based; it's like sports in general. So
If you love
it's
Dave,
really
I still
good.
want you to redo your Gator episode now that you have a new format.
I often wonder if that was some of the issues. Like, not that everything you do should be a project of passion, right? But when we look at the Fenway feed, us doing a Red Sox-based show, and then with Gangrene doing a Celtic strictly based, like there's still a cap to how high you can go with your listener base because it's just one team's fan base. And we'll talk about it, I guess, a little later, but that is definitely something that we considered when formatting this show, was something that we can kind of get a lot of people involved in.
Well played.
Okay, boss. But yeah, so from there, I mean, what was the whole Beantown broadcast into Hammer Space Radio? Was it the same show rebranded?
So, yes and no. Again, Beantown predated podcasting, or it was like right
was
when
on-
podcasting was.
you guys are on
starting.
Stitcher though, right? Which is now
No, we were on Spreaker.
Yeah,
Spreaker.com, because we were the #1 radio show for like 3 weeks in the US and UK charts, if you remember.
That's right. Yeah,
We
Excuse me.
beat those idiots in Louisiana because we were trailing them.
Or they were
and it
like
was
the Uncle something show.
Uncle Bubba or something like that.
Yeah.
And it sounded like
Uncle Milty.
it was so annoying because we had like full-blown production. It was live radio as if you were like talk radio, terrestrial radio.
It was like one of the first live
Yeah.
internet radio stations.
Exactly.
And
So
I think Spreaker doesn't exist anymore, or they do, and they only host podcasts now, or something like
Yeah.
that.
I imagine they probably got swallowed up by somebody.
Yeah, we had a legitimate studio set up in my basement. Like I think we had like 8 mics, a huge
Yeah.
mixer. We had like multiple
we were more
computers.
professional
with-
then than we are now with all the things we used to do. when
True.
we were like
Well,
kids.
I mean,
we had
technology just made things easier.
we had that awesome vocal booth in your basement. That was
Hey, you're
like,
famous now, Mia.
there we go. But yeah, we would do like, we did it 3 times a week, like 2 or 3 hours at a time. I remember.
Ryan asked us a question about
Yeah,
Bone
so
Death.
I'll touch on it real quick. So Bone Death was a shirt company thing that me and a buddy of mine did when we were in high school, our senior year, and it started off as really an inside joke. So what had happened was, like, 6 of us in our senior year started wearing children's Lizzie McGuire backpacks, and one of our friends was writing weird things all over it, and we would wear those to school every day. And he was just writing funny things. And one thing that he wrote was Bone Death. And I don't know exactly what started that and why he wrote it without the A in death, but it became a joke. And what we decided to do was, just amongst a couple of us, we wanted to make shirts that said Bone Death. So we went on Custom Ink, and I made like a basic design off like the art they had there. And there was a limit of 6 shirts. So I was like, okay, now I need to find a few more friends who want one so I can order the minimum. And then from there, more and more people said that they wanted them. And then to the point where the original shirt had almost 100 orders or so for the shirt. And we ended up ordering all these shirts, and it became like a thing. So we're like, all right, let's keep going. And we did a few more designs. And then throughout senior year, there hadn't been a day that passed that at least one person wasn't wearing our shirts. But yeah, it wasn't like intentionally to bother anyone. It was just kind of a joke gone wild. And I think the intention was to keep doing it. And just, we got older, we left high school, we separated. It was just too tough to keep it going. And we had talked about doing stuff later on, but we did end it with Bone Death Fest, which was like a party / concert we threw that had like 10 bands play. Joe had played in it. I had played in a band I was in. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of we didn't know it at the time, but it was the goodbye party for Bone Death.
Well, interesting thing about that was I spent like 13 hours that day filming Bone Death Fest.
Yeah, where's that video?
On my
Trust me.
18th birthday was Bone Death Fest.
Yeah.
And I never saw the footage that I wasted my entire birthday recording.
I didn't
I
get
would
to see
love
the
to
one.
see that. I
never
would love
saw
to see.
a single second of it.
Same. I didn't get to
And-
see my own band play. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah,
What
I
did
wonder
you
what
rec-
did happen to that.
Did you record it on like a personal
No, we
camera?
No, we
had
actually had
cameras.
WCAT cameras rented,
Yeah.
and
You guys had
again another thing we overproduced for our age.
Yeah.
And
touche.
But 10
failed.
bands live in a backyard. We rented a porta potty. There was food all day. It was a pretty big. Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Where's that documentary? If only we'd gotten more side footage at the time.
If only
I
you
think-
had the tape.
More people
any
will
of
have heard of that than Joe's heavy metal parking lot.
Heavy Metal
Right.
Parking Lot is a humongous movie.
Okay.
Yeah, sure it is.
maybe we'll have a live watch party and watch this gem that Joe keeps talking
We
about.
should, especially because it's only 15 minutes long. It's not like it's a super long movie. I don't know why you haven't watched it yet.
Only if Gordo watches Top Gun.
I have watched Top Gun
No, you have.
multiple times.
And I'm trying to think if there was any other collaborations we had all done. I know, like, me and Joe had been in a band at one point together, and other than that, I think that was kind of the backstory of
You
everything
left
we had
out
done.
that we're a world famous tag team.
Yes, and me and Ferg are 2-0 in the art of professional wrestling. Retired young, but we went out on top.
One of
Yeah,
which
Dave,
the matches you guys beat me.
That's right.
Yeah, we used to film skits in my backyard like a very long time ago. This was probably like 2003. None of them were good. Well, actually, some of them were kind of good, but they wouldn't make it in today's.
I think we always had things in the burner or plans to do different projects. Joe, remember Red Tape? We basically were young and wanted to rip off Jackass.
Yeah.
I remember Red Tape.
Jackass ruined
I
an
remember
entire
that.
generation.
Yeah,
We're
everyone just
lucky we
wanted
can
to
all
do
walk
Jackass.
still.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it's a miracle we have 100 episodes of this with the amount of things we've talked about doing and didn't
Yeah.
do or started and stopped.
Well, yeah, I guess
Touche.
we can get into kind of, we had talked about doing a podcast of some sort for a long time.
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And all these
years.
different pitches had come out. At one point, like me, Nick, and Ferg had been, with a couple other friends, had been kind of recorded a pilot episode of a wrestling podcast we were thinking about doing called the Heel Americans,
Oh, I
and
forgot about that.
we recorded like on an iPhone. We all just sat in a circle and kind of just went over it, and that never really turned into anything.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's all right. Jay's internet's a little wonky tonight. He'll be back any second.
This is behind the scenes of what it's like to
Yeah.
record an episode.
Yeah,
There
I
he
was gonna say
is.
this is a
The last thing we heard, Jay, was, and it kind of turned into.
It kind of turned into that. No, so yeah, no, we've been having like back and forth projects we're working on, and the idea of doing a like wrestling podcast was something at the time we all watched pretty religiously weekly, and we were always talking about it on the side, so it made sense. But also, it was a super flooded market. It's just like, what could we do different that 1,000 people weren't doing?
You know what's funny about that though is wrestling wasn't flooded at the time. It is now. But
I mean, more than you know, there was a lot. It's even worse now, is the thing.
right. But I think if we had capitalized on it around then, we might. Again, though, if you remember, the technical difficulties of that were way hard. We would have all had to be together. We would all had to have the equipment and schedule, and it would have been impossible. But I guess we can thank COVID for making all of this so much easier.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody started podcasts and stuff at the beginning of COVID, and we launched like right when the world was starting to open back up. Like we were
Everyone's like, let's go do shit again, and we're like, we'll stay in our rooms.
Essentially, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, we pitched a bunch of different stuff. Nick, I remember you really wanted to do a podcast that was kind of about us.
Yeah,
And-
I wanted it to be called the Friends for Too Long podcast.
And I think we kind of found a way to morph that into something
We did.
like we could tell the stories, but link it into something that's, I think, relatable to everybody. And in our wrestling chat of all things, Joe had, for whatever reason, watched the show Country Comfort.
Which means
And,
I've now watched that whole show all the way through and the pilot
too.
twice, which is a fucking nightmare and waste of space on this earth.
And do you kind
Nobody
of want
made
to
you watch it twice all the way through. But for our show, you could have just watched the pilot a second time.
Oh, that's what I mean. I watched
did.
the pilot twice. I watched the whole
Oh,
series
okay.
once.
do you want to get into like what your thought process was when you first watched that episode and how that kind of evolved?
Yeah, we were watching it. It was late at night. Again, it was like during COVID, not much going on. My wife and I were watching it and just marveling at how terrible this show was. And like, who green lights a show after making a pilot that could be this abject bad? And then I messaged you guys and was like, you know, it might be a good idea if we go through and do pilots, because this show is so bad. I can't believe they made it. And I think even at the beginning, we were talking about shows that maybe even were just really bad pilots. And then it sort of fleshed out to every pilot is usually way different than the history of, you know, how the show turns out. So
Yeah,
it sort of started happening from there.
it got away from its initial concept a little bit, but yeah, the idea of just tackling a pilot episode and your kind of first impressions was something that I think gravitated in. You know, like anything else, and we talked about this, and I brought it up earlier, by doing things like just a Celtics or just a Red Sox show, like everybody watches TV, right? It's some degree for the most part. And sitcoms is such like an easy watch, something you could joke about. They're intended to be lighthearted, usually 20 something minutes, you know, get in, get out. So it seemed like easy content to go over. And we pitch things all the time, but for whatever reason, we jumped on this very fast.
I would
And
say that
essentially-
night we were ordering microphones.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
we
Yeah,
very,
had
very
come up with a
was.
name. we were
For anybody who
buying
knows us knows that agreeing with each other has never been what we do well. And we all in unison were like, yep, let's do it, which was, I guess, enough for us to just hit the gas.
I thought
Yeah,
it
and
was a wrestling
maybe
podcast.
people can.
Yeah,
let
Gordo
us
didn't
know
even
if they
know
hear
until
it,
we
but-
were like, oh, the first episode's Friends. It's like,
I
oh.
was
Yeah.
so confused as to why a wrestling podcast would watch Friends, because it was in the wrestling chat. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do a podcast about wrestling. And
And-
yeah, that's how I came in.
I'm really glad we ended up not doing a wrestling podcast, because that would mean I'd have to watch
Yeah.
so much terrible modern wrestling right now.
How dare you?
And that's the thing too. I mean, if you guys listen, you know that we're all to some degree fans of professional wrestling, but to know how different all of us are in our fandom and what we enjoy, it just wouldn't even be. It would just be constant arguing.
Yeehaw.
I think he looks more like Captain Crunch, kind of like that hat, if anything.
Yeah, what's that hat called? It's like a sort of like
An
a
admiral's hat.
yeah. That's probably.
It's like what Belichick wears when he's crossing the Charles.
Oh, actually, speaking of
Delaware.
that, hopefully that doesn't come down.
Why? What's behind it?
Yeah, we probably should have worn them, but Gordo did buy us all Belichick
I
crossing the
did. I
Charles
bought it for this
t-shirts.
specific event.
For the
Uh,
record, I wore mine on the 100th episode.
I did too.
So as far as prep time goes, it's a little bit different for each of us. And so on my end, to do the notes and to host the show, usually I need it could be like 2 to 3 hours typically to just do all my notes and get things ready. And and after that, we record. The recording typically isn't very different in time length from what you guys hear. We might take a pause here and there, and then Gordo and Nick do the audio editing, and they kind of switch off doing that. And,
Yeah, we switch up every week.
And what, on average, what would you say like a normal week for you is to edit? You guys have different processes.
Yeah, so
between like 6 and 8 hours for an edit, because you have to go through it so I've kind of figured out a way to do both processes at once. Gordo still does them separately, where he'll go through and deal with all the individual tracks, and he'll get rid of like the talkovers. Like if two of us are talking at the same time, he can eliminate one of them, so it's not so abrasive to your ears. And so he has to go through the entire podcast twice, essentially. I figured out a way to do it. We use different programs too, so it's not easy to translate. I can't just be like, "Hey, Gordo, do it this way" instead, because we use different editing softwares.
Correct.
But basically, yeah, I mean, you have to go through it at a very slow pace. So if it's an hour and a half long or 2 hours long, there's at least 2 hours worth of work right there. And then you have to stop and make all your edits, which, is a minute here or there throughout the entire 2 episodes, and it ends up breaking down. I remember I timed myself as best as I could once early on when I wasn't doing it so quickly, and it took me like 9 hours to edit one of the episodes over like multiple days. Luckily it's gotten a little easier, but it's pretty time intensive, unfortunately. So if you know anybody who would be willing to edit us for free, let us know.
Yeah.
I would love to get
budget's
that
not
off
great.
my plate.
Yeah, if you knew how much Joe and I talk over each other, you'd
It's
know
a
how
lot.
hard these two work.
Yeah,
So
somehow,
three cheers for them
Yeah.
too.
for whatever reason, the two of them can't hear the other one speak. So the two of them, more than anybody, can legit talk for 30 seconds straight at the same time without acknowledging the other one speaking, which
I just
is
hear clicking
amazing
noises.
more than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny because when we edit, so like when I edit, like Nick said, I go through everything once, and like when Joe and Ferg talk over each other, you have to kind of hear what Jay says beforehand, A and B it to see who makes the point.
Yeah,
and
it's a
who
Sophie's
Jay
choice every time.
responds. Yeah, it's like a choose your own adventure, but Jay usually will respond to one of them, and then that's how I make the cut.
Or sometimes there's a flat out, I have to, and I literally in the last episode we recorded, go, stop,
Yeah,
Joe talk, now Ferg, you talk after.
We're pretty rapid fire.
There's Ryan, there's definitely cuts that we make to condense it. Because sometimes we'll take a break in the middle of recording.
Joe has to pee a lot.
Yeah.
So-
Joe has a little bladder, so
I don't
has
know if
to
I'll
go
make it
pee.
through this whole hour. I just finished a giant glass of beverage, and it's gonna work its way through.
Beverage.
So
It's,
so we cut it down
Assorted
to make
beverage.
it palatable.
But I
We
will
also-
say, if you go and you like go to our Instagram, S1E1 pod, and you watch a lot of the videos I post, because I usually post 2, sometimes 3 videos for every episode that are just like this, you'll see us talking in live time. So we are cutting long pauses out for like breaks and stuff, or if someone messes up, we might restart. But for the most part, you're hearing us kind of in live time. And again, we've been friends for 30 something years. So we kind of just have a rapport with one another and know each other's tendencies and are pretty witty with one another.
That was actually something I wanted to get into. I was trying to wrangle it. I know we were all in 4th grade together, but I believe like Joe and Jay and Ferg were together. Me and Gordo were together. Gordo, were we in 1st grade together? I think we were.
We
We were in
definitely
kindergarten.
were. We were. I know we were in kindergarten together. we definitely were in first grade together.
Joe
been-
and I were in
Cummings?
first grade together.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
And Ferg and I have been friends since birth. So our parents worked with one another. So I literally have known Ferg since the day I was born. Like,
Right.
to of all people, had to be him. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's so we've been. I mean, we are. I mean, all of us. Like I said, it's been over 30 years, and I think we acknowledge how rare that is to even have friends that long that you still stay in contact with. And you know, we are like family to one another. So I think that makes a lot of this easy. It also makes some of the stressful parts easy because we do yell at each other off
Yeah.
air. So I think it's just like you can take it with a grain of salt when you know it's people you care about and it's not just like a professional setting.
We
Yeah.
have all these chats on WhatsApp, and me and Jay will be fighting in one and having another conversation in the other one. That's just completely cordial.
Yeah.
I think
And you're
Frank
always
figured out what's
fighting-
in Joe's cup. Frank knows Joe pretty well.
Hi, Frank.
Well, Frank,
Hey,
that is
Frank.
accurate. Yeah.
I like your picture, Frank.
I will say
But,
too, one thing going back to the notes and everything, one thing that we shot ourselves in the foot with, where I was like, this will be super fun. You just watch an episode of a TV show and then you record a show with your friends about it. And then you realize that you'll spend 2 hours watching an episode to pause, and I write my notes by hand on paper and then go do secondary notes, looking stuff up. So it's definitely not just you watch the episode and jump in and record. There's a lot of time in taking notes.
Depends
for
who
me-
you are.
baby.
Seriously,
For
Ferg
me
hasn't
and
taken
Jay.
notes.
No notes.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
I
just use
watch it the
old
day
noggin.
of, and it just all comes out of here.
I'm going to tell you why I stopped doing notes, though. And I don't know how Joe does it. I understand how Jay does it because that's basically how he's following along. Frank. Willis all day.
Willis.
Willis, baby.
Willis.
We're all the same elementary school. That's how we've known each other.
Jay held down the pit. He was chained to the fence, but he held it down. But I can write 2 pages worth of notes, and I never get to them now. You know what I mean? Like I never find
Yeah.
a point to inject what I wanted to talk about. So I just kind of have to remember things that I thought were more important than others.
I used to just read. I used to just read Wikipedia facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he really
Yeah, everybody noticed, including us, buddy.
Well, we got that one review that said a good mix of humor and Wikipedia facts, and I think after that I stopped doing it.
Well, if you remember, recently we did a show that we all split the hosting duties, and Gordo's like, "Look, I wrote my part of the episode," and he literally just copied and pasted, and he wasn't trying to be funny about it. Like this is what he was legitimately doing, and he just copy and pasted facts
script.
from Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the one time. This was spawned off of a fight too. This is how it originally started. I was fighting with Ferg, and I'm like, "Fuck off! I'm not doing this episode." And so the Kirby Enthusiasm episode was the one and only time out of 100 episodes I didn't host one. I was on all 100, but that was the only time I didn't host.
Just saying, I was right about that fight.
I don't even remember what it was, but I'm sure you were not.
Episode placement of New Girl.
Oh, real quick, actually, if for some reason any of you are watching on like your television or something like that, please take a picture of this and
Oh yeah,
you
we
know,
meant to
send-
say that before.
Yeah, and send it to
Yeah.
our Twitter at S1E1
do it now.
Pod or
Yeah.
something. It would
Tweet
be really
or put
cool.
it on or your Instagram story and hashtag it S1E1 live, and we'll try to check that out and see how it
Repost it.
looks from
Yeah.
your end. But I did go over stuff because I think really what this is, right, is a celebration of my 100 episodes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh god.
Because
Here we go.
as Ferg would like to say otherwise, I am the true S1E1 champ. I am the only person who's actually actively been in all 100 episodes. So I did go over a few numbers. Ferg's missed 2, Joe's missed 4, Gordo with 7, Nick, the absentee champ, with 12 missed episodes.
I was gonna guess 12 actually, but it's out of my control. I was traveling for work a lot. There was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah, I want to say one of mine was COVID and one of mine was COVID booster. I don't remember the other 2 though.
I
I've
think
had
there was
Dang,
also,
I recorded a full episode with COVID.
Oh, well, I'll say this. Out of the missed episodes, no.
Agreed.
That's all he knows how to do.
Mhm.
Renee
Never
actually was
stopped.
the one who left the review about Gordo's Wikipedia facts.
Oh, okay.
But I think
Observant.
what part of my like Iron Man award was the fact that for up until we did Curb, we didn't know if anyone else could host anything. So
Yep.
True.
But Jay, you say that, but you're also the only person who's actively ever fallen asleep while we were recording an episode where we're all talking and all of a sudden you hear snoring and see your head start popping.
in fairness,
Where's
okay,
the video of that, by the way? Why did we
Yeah.
never find
I-
We
the
have
it was
video?
it. We
towards the
have
end.
it somewhere.
Not that iron,
have
okay, bud?
We have
I'll
it
say this.
somewhere.
for the four of you here, for everything that goes into this show, you guys know more than anybody. My schedule is brutal in a week. Outside of the fact, because this is, as many of you may have guessed, we do not get paid to do this. So
Yeah,
I
well,
work a
There's some
lot.
mushroom water coming your way,
Yes.
sir.
So my average work week is like a 65-hour work week plus the stuff I do into the show, and trying to have some remnants of an actual life outside of here, which is near impossible. But I run myself to death. So the fact that I've done any of this is a miracle at this point.
You could do one of those weird things some people do, take a day off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my
it's
my
strange
day off.
content.
Today was my day off. I woke up, did the notes for the show, prepped graphics and videos and stuff for this show. Like that's my day off.
Oh, I did mine at work.
Yeah, my time of relaxation was I had dinner before we recorded. And for those of you watching us right now, we recorded an episode right before we went live. So episode 101. So if you wonder why we're wearing the same clothes, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
We're
But
not super stinky.
yeah.
Chasing
I'm sure I'm
brunettes with
sweaty.
Glasses.
Oh, Sarah.
Yep.
Chasing but never catching them because I eat my diet is terrible. So yeah, chasing brunette girls with glasses. We all have our things. Okay?
You don't want to get trapped inside Jay's phone.
Yeah, definitely
I
not.
think Joe spawned that one.
He
Yeah.
did. He did like a couple of weeks ago too.
Yeah.
And it took off like wildfire.
So Jay, do you have a treat for our live listeners? You're gonna do Bobcat Goldthwait for them?
Dave,
Oh,
Jay only has 3. You would be shocked. I could send you a picture. I literally have maybe 300 plus t-shirts.
Ignored my question.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Oh, Jay, that's an interesting fact about your work life and your t-shirts. Do you have a Bobcat Goldthwait t-shirt in your closet? And
Do
if
you?
so,
No.
I don't, but I would.
gladly wear a
Yeah, I would wear that all
I
day
would
long.
too. But speaking of Bobcat
Maybe him and
Goldthwait,
Sweet Chuck.
Yes, definitely. Please, Academy.
So we did
how's
we
your
pulled
impression
up-
coming?
It's not coming along. When I have to do it, I'll figure something out. But I
about-
just don't.
can we get a test run?
Yeah, can we get a
Not
yeah.
live. No. So
I'm a
Again,
bunny.
Do it for the
Come
live
on, see?
fans.
I
no,
did it live.
Absolutely not. You guys, for those of you who are in here right now, who are going to be listening when we post this down the road, know that there's kind of been an ongoing runner now that they want me to do a Bobcat Goldthwait impersonation, which I don't have one,
Because we all did one on
Yeah, we all did
Right.
one and you didn't.
and I knew my vocal limits. Like, I've done impersonations over the show before. A bunch of Muppets I can do, but Bobcat's not one I got.
I think you're just
But,
building this up too much, man.
Yeah, well, now, yeah. So
If
now
you
there's a
just done
point.
it would have been done with.
There's a point where we're going to do Golden Palace eventually. And when we do, I said if we covered a show that he was in, I would do it. So
And Bobcat Goldthwait is in the sequel to the Golden Girls spin-off Golden Palace, which will be coming soon.
Is there a Pauly Shore sitcom that we can cover?
I
There is
looked,
the
I
Pauly
looked.
Shore show that lasted half a season.
But wasn't
on
that more
Fox.
sketch-like?
Yeah, that wasn't really a sitcom.
No,
was
no,
it?
he had a sitcom.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
if we can find it.
Wasn't it like the plot of Tommy Boy? Like he had a rich dad?
I think so. I remember him having a house that seemed almost like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house, but sunny, like beachier.
We covered that.
We already
So
covered
Unhappily
it.
Ever
It's
After
too
just
late.
came up on the screen. Yeah. We covered that. That's what started the whole thing.
I think that was us all doing the
Yeah,
impressions
it's-
except for Jay.
I'm
Yeah,
a talking bunny.
I'm a
It's
talking
Gordon
bunny.
did it.
CJ, you could just do it live.
Yeah, we
on-
all did it. I'm a vegetarian.
beautiful.
It's easy.
So I want to get into some numbers here. For those of you in the chats actively right now, does anybody want to guess who greenlit the most episodes? We'll pop up the first one with the right answer.
Da-na-na-na. You know what? This would be a good time to play our preloaded music. Let's see. Acoustic cinematic.
Yep, we got multiple answers. I don't know what the order was, but the first one I see, Joe is the correct
Ding,
answer.
ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding.
that's the
Joe
correct
with
answer.
81 green lights, far and away the most.
A beacon of positivity who just loves television. A lot of people saying it. Well, thank you guys
Yeah.
for listening. And hey, look,
Now,
Wait,
would
what was the
anyone like
number,
to-
Jay?
Yeah, what
Joe
was
with
the number?
81 out of 100.
Jesus Christ.
Why do you even do this?
Yeah, I know, right?
hey, that means 18% are that bad.
And then the flip side, who is Captain Negative of the group? Would anyone like to guess the most amount of cancellations out of the five of us?
What was that?
That's a reason to never use pre-recorded
I
music.
know, yeah. This is
This
terrible.
music should be more negative since it's the negative one.
Oh,
This sounds like what
here
they
we got
dubbed
one.
WCW music over
Grumpy
from.
Ferg, the correct answer. Ferg hates everything, but he's actually not that far off. So Ferg has 63 green lights. But there's actually a three-way tie between me, Nick, and Gordo, actually, surprisingly. 65 each. So we're actually not even that far away from Ferg. And it's funny to see the three of us all together in that
Yeah,
because
that's
we
strange.
don't vote the same on a lot of shows.
No, not at all.
It's kind of
as
a
you
law
all
of
know,
average.
I am the S1E1 champion, and the way I've kept that is I know who will vote for what. So I always
It's
aim
not
for
a
Gordo
game.
and
Why do you
Joe.
play
Yeah, I
this?
know, it's
You
not a
play it like
game.
it's a
That's just
game.
something losers say. It's not a
So-
game.
Much like how
How do you champ
Gordo,
and kiss the ring?
Gordo went into this not understanding that this wasn't a wrestling podcast. Ferg still doesn't 2 years later understand this isn't a competition. So we usually rotate doing picks. So we kind of do a block of 6 at a time. And what we'll do is each of us will pick one each, and then we'll do like a group pick or a fan pick or something. And there's exceptions to the rule, like we do like Halloween blocks and things like that. Ferg intentionally will only pick shows that he knows everyone will greenlight.
Touche.
We talked about
denial
this
is more
on-
than just a river in Egypt, my friends. All right, I am your champion. Show me
Frank
the
just
respect they
commented-
deserve.
Frank commented on Joe's lack of beard. Actually, if you listen to next week's episode that we've already recorded, we mentioned the fact that he's the only beardless person here.
And
If it
that's
ever gets
true.
released, we're
Going for
having
the
audio
George Michael
problems.
look.
Oh, that's correct too. Unhappily Ever After is what spawned the whole
Yeah.
thing with the Bobcat impersonation, but that's because Gordo mistakenly picked that show thinking it was Greg the Bunny.
No. I picked Greg the Bunny originally, thinking it was Unhappily Ever After.
That is not
Okay,
what
so-
happened.
We have a question up now that is actually something that we were kind of talking about doing beforehand. So
I'd like to say one that I think everybody besides me treated way too
well,
harshly.
hold on. First, we should read the question for those just listening. So, are there any shows you greenlit or canceled you feel were treated too harshly or favorably? Cough News Radio. Joe, go on.
I would just like to say that I think all of you treated very poorly Mama's Family, one of the greatest sitcoms to
Yeah.
ever be
I'm glad you
created.
brought that up because I still like convulse in my sleep sometimes with how much I hated that show. That is
I
easily
don't understand it.
my
Hey, Skater!
least favorite
Terrible.
show we have ever done. It was
No, I'm-
such a boring bubblegum and fucking paperclip show. Like it was the worst production I've ever seen on the show. We've done 100 episodes, hands down the least enjoyable show I've seen.
You're saying that over the Netflix shows we've done.
Yeah,
You think that's worse
yeah.
than the Christmas show? With Dennis
California
Quaid?
Dreams was the worst show we've covered.
No,
That was
California
pretty
Dreams
bad.
isn't that bad.
It was
But Mama's
terrible.
California
Family
Dreams
just
is
like
great, and the soundtrack is fantastic.
Okay, so hold on. So shows that we were harsh on. I don't think we were that harsh on News Radio, and I like News Radio, but I didn't
Yeah, I
think that
love
was a
News
good
Radio.
pilot.
Did we cancel it? All of us?
We five for five canceled that one. I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
That's true. Yeah.
I would change my vote for Living Single because I like the episode as
What?
a whole, and I let one scene that made me cringe like through the floor change my opinion on the whole show. So that would be one of my main changes. I would go back episode 1. We did Friends. I would actually cancel Friends as well.
Same.
So I think Friends may have been a cancel for me. I would be curious to watch it back at this point, but I didn't hate it, but I don't think it was that good either. It wasn't.
Yeah.
For the
so-
record, us canceling shows doesn't mean we hate the show as a whole. We
Yes.
just-
News radio
yeah,
is
based on the
evident of
pilot
that.
at all.
News
only.
radio is a fantastic television show, but the pilot just didn't work for any of us somehow.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah. But it
and
gets
recently-
great. I mean, the whole storyline with DB Cooper and all the insanity that goes on in that show later on is so fun.
So there was
See-
recently for me one of the shows that I canceled. That when I was like kind of looking back at all the old graphics, I was like, all right. So we not too long ago we did that 90s show, and we recorded that 90s show the day it released, which is something we never tried before, but we wanted to see like, hey, here's a popular show. Let's get on top of it right away and review it and be one of the early reviews out for the show.
A little stressful.
Yeah.
So it was, a tighter timeline to do that. But I watched it and I didn't hate it, but I canceled it because of the fear of the bait and switch and all these things, which were true.
Yeah.
I do think that the first episode was better than the season, but I watched the whole season. So like I can't cancel it and then say like,
Right, but you watched the season because you were like morbidly curious. You
but I'm going to
weren't-
watch season 2. When season 2 comes out, I don't love the show, but I don't hate it. So
Yeah, but I
it
mean,
was
like,
enough
that's
to
what
keep
we-
watching.
In
Go
all
on,
fairness, I did that with the Crew, and I hated.
So
the
okay,
Crew.
so that's my
I
first
actually liked
note.
the Crew.
Why would you
My
do
first
that?
note.
You like
all
everything.
canceled the Crew.
I still
Yeah.
don't like the Crew.
I
still
Yeah.
don't
Wasn't
like it. It's
that
still-
bad. You
it's
guys
not a
just
good
like
pilot,
you
but I
couldn't
watched the whole show.
you couldn't get off the NASCAR thing and
No,
see
it had
past
nothing to
it.
do with that. It
Yeah,
was the terrible writing.
I
and
don't know.
corny ass
I don't know. I
jokes
think
and
Kevin
bad
James
acting.
did a good, but I do have a few things that I would consider changing. The Tick, I greenlit, and I think I would go back and cancel that one.
I canceled that show. canceled
I
that
think
show.
I should have canceled that one. That when I was scrolling through that one, I was like, I actually don't remember greenlighting that. I don't know why I didn't cancel
Well,
it.
it's
I'd have to go back and
fantastic.
watch.
Yeah, it's a great show.
The 2001 version.
Yeah.
Uh,
Patrick Warburton.
I love
Hey,
Patrick
dude, I
Warburton,
think
not
I
a
would go
great
back
show,
and
though.
cancel. I would cancel.
Joe
Hey,
Greenlit
dude.
News Radio. Is that correct?
I thought News
Yeah.
Radio was an all cancel.
I thought it
Thank
was
you.
too, but we
I
could
have
be
the
wrong.
drive up. I can check real quick. You guys talk
To go
amongst
the other
yourselves.
direction, Trailer Park Boys, I think I should have canceled. I think I let the nostalgia of loving that show so much get in the way of how bad the first episode was.
Joe
if I'm
did
being honest.
Greenlight News Radio. I'm checking it back now. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow. Okay.
That's
Our
right, 'cause
first
News Radio
full cancel
rules.
was Country Comfort, which was our 8th episode.
And Jay, I hate
And
to
Gordo
say it.
almost passed it.
Jay, I hate to say it.
I
I think
came-
I should greenlight Cavemen. I think I should have
Hey!
greenlit
Hey,
it.
there you go.
I stand by my guns. Caveman sucks.
Caveman wasn't that bad. It was good enough to get me.
Caveman was one of those shows that we
Yeah, Hey Dude sucked. I don't know why I greenlit it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I
because
canceled
we
it.
I think we noted with that one that it was
Hey,
that it was
dude.
for kids.
Dave has a
And
question about more cartoons too, by the way.
We
Yes.
constantly go back and forth. I think I'm one of the main people pulling against cartoons a lot. To be completely
Yeah.
honest, I'm not against them.
If I had my way, we'd do a cartoon once a month. But
So that's a lot. That's
Yeah.
ambitious.
If I had my way, we'd do a separate podcast that was
unfortunately, Jay is a dictator.
no,
Boo,
it-
Jay.
Yeah, I know.
Boo.
No,
Well,
so
Ferg and I are going to start a podcast that's just us reviewing every episode of The Critic, and that's coming soon.
yes, we've
at
referenced
five
it
o'clock shadow.
many times. We always say like we should do a Patreon, and it's always back and forth, right? Are there going to be enough subscribers? Do we have time to do more work? Hey, what's going
Hey.
on?
Hello.
And it's one of those we always talk about what could the Patreon be, and I had always said like that would be a cool Saturday morning thing. Like once a month we release a Saturday morning cartoon episode, and like it was always stuck in my head as I like the idea.
I like
but
that
the
idea.
The timing to do it is not on our side usually.
Did
And
someone?
if it,
Oh, I was gonna say, didn't someone pitch anime?
no, why do you say it that way?
Like the month of
Anime
May.
in May.
Yeah, the month
Oh,
of May, not
oh,
like
okay.
us
As a Jay, how are
doing
you not picking
anime.
up on this?
No. Well, I think someone did, but no.
Yes, buy my book.
The Critic is one of Ferg's favorite shows of all time.
I have the DVDs.
Yeah,
But I
He's
go
like
back a
our
little
own
bit-
John Lovitz, anyways.
Yes. To go back to the
Yes, I
caveman
am.
thing, cavemen became one of the first like inside jokes we brought to the podcast, I feel, because in real life, I've always loved that show. And it's been a joke amongst these guys against me for years and years. So they kind of use it against me in the show a lot, bringing it up. And we knew that there was a point where we talked about it so much that we kind of had to tackle it eventually. So we made it our 1-year anniversary show because of the amount of jokes that were surrounded around it. And come to find out, when we did it, we greenlit the show. We got 3 out of 5, and now Nick's saying he would have possibly greenlit it. So it's not a bad show for what it is.
Don't listen to them. It's terrible.
But I'll say this, Cavemen came out during the writer's strike when there was no television available anywhere. There was no new episodes of any TV, and yet they still canceled it in real life and left episodes unaired when they had literally nothing else that they could air. So
Unless you live in Australia.
Yeah, Australia played the whole thing
Australia got the whole thing.
Frank, Clone High. We've talked about Clone High privately because we all enjoyed the show. We just
It's coming
What the hell
back.
is Clone High?
through. MTV.
it was a cartoon show where basically a bunch of like historical figures were all cloned as
Cloned.
teenagers and went to school together.
To this day, I still
Oh,
think there's
okay.
a scene from the commercial where Bill Clinton walks by 2 girls and goes, "I don't love you, hoes." And for some reason, that's always in my head. And it's the one thing from Clone High that I remember and think of way too often.
I just remember Gotti going, "Say what?"
A better time
I-
for cartoons.
I never heard of that at all.
What would you guys watch a Saturday morning cartoon podcast if we did it though? Or maybe that's something we could like test the waters with other things, like do a full video podcast, stuff like that.
I mean, now that we have this, so this is like I said, the live thing's new to us, and I would love to test watch along, but we have an issue with copyright. So we don't know what we can air. We know what the rules are to copyright stuff, but we've also come to find out that even when you post things lawfully, they can get taken off.
Yeah.
So it's a really tight line. So even when you do everything right, you run the risk of pissing someone off at YouTube or anywhere, and they can
Even
pull
somebody,
your
just their
stuff.
stupid robotic
It's a-
algorithm.
yeah.
Yeah, I
that's
was
what he
gonna
catches
say,
it.
It's
No,
just a
I-
robot.
I think Gordo had something. It doesn't have to be anime, but we could just once a year dedicate 1 month to cartoons.
Anime works, and it can
I
throw
don't wanna-
people off.
Now I don't want to do it because you suggested it.
What? Why do you guys, for 100 episodes, have crapped on me? 100.5 now.
I've
a simple
crapped on
caveman.
you for 35 years.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say this is nothing new. But to go back, I would probably greenlight Letterkenny.
I
Okay,
didn't
I'm
know
glad
you
to hear
canceled
that.
it.
I'm glad to hear that.
that's
I-
that's a show that like I feel like there are things in there I would like, but I just didn't. I don't know.
Speaking
Yeah.
of, we got to do
hope
Shorzy
so.
soon. By the
I-
way, fellas.
I like.
Oh yeah, Shorzy has to happen.
Yeah.
real soon.
Shorzy. I think Shorzy was better than Letterkenny, but I'm not talking about the pilot. I'm as a whole.
as a whole.
I won't go
show.
that far, but Shorzy was pretty fantastic.
It was just the fast talking, and like I just have a hearing issue.
Space
and
Ghost would be really
was-
cool.
How does
is
one
that a
cover
It wasn't a
Space
sitcom?
Ghost?
sitcom. It was a talk show.
That's
Space
true.
Ghost
It
Coast
was
to
a
Coast.
talk show. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I
Space
could go
Ghost
on
Coast to
our
Coast is,
separate
yeah.
Saturday morning. We don't have to abide by sitcom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
that's
break out
true.
of the sitcom rule.
It's just a time like so. For those of you who've been kind of following us along, or even caught up on episodes once you did, you'll notice there was like a wave with us. Like our early episodes ranged in the 40-something minute range, and now they average like an hour and a half to an hour and 40. And there was a point where they were going too long, and we were cutting them down to get them under 2 hours. A couple times we even broke that. So when we were
Which would
40
explain
minute
all the
episodes,
censoring of me that you guys do.
it cuts them down just nicely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when there was when we were doing like 40-minute episodes, we could record 2 at once, and there would be weeks where we would double up to backlog, and we could record 4 episodes in a week. Now we basically record an episode a week unless there's like things we're trying to plan ahead for. So it makes it really tough with the length of our show now to backlog and do extra stuff because it's become so lengthy. But it's also going back, I don't even know how we can record 40-minute episodes anymore. It just seems like an impossible thing. And I don't even know if the show would be as good that short anymore.
We got one person who says they'll pay for Patreon.
there we
To
go.
answer that last question, I would love to do an episode just about theme songs.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think that's also
It could be one of these. We
that,
just
I
do
was just about
live.
to say, I think now that we're testing the waters with like live stuff, I think we can do some more specialty things and
That are
Kinda
outside the
incorporate this
box
once in a
of
while,
what we
yeah.
do. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though. If we do theme songs, I'm just gonna talk about the DuckTales theme song the entire time. 'Cause it is the greatest theme song ever written.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
DuckTales.
To Dave's question for SNL or Mad TV, I think it would be fun to do sitcom parodies from either
That
one
would be
of
really
those.
cool.
Or
Yeah.
Like when Mad
find
TV
a
did That's My
specialty
White
way.
Mama.
We could do the Californians if we do.
We
SNL.
also could
I
do,
can't review the Californians.
maybe
What
not
are you
in
doing,
long
Joe?
format, but there might be some avenues to do like shorter videos that we can post on YouTube and stuff, and kind of figure out ways to maneuver some of these things. But I think at this point, the heart of the show is kind of in place. We kind of know what we are. And I think that took time for everyone to get on board with too. I think in the early days, like anything else, your downloads on what you want them to be, your everything. And then, you see things move along and things catch on, but there's this fear early on when it's not sticking that like we got to change something. But it's outsource and reach and getting people to find us. And we're still trying to figure that out, of a good way to get more people to figure it out and find us without draining money into things that don't work.
Yeah, it's got to be
Great
worth it,
theme.
basically. We don't
Yeah,
want to
babies.
just rip people off. So
Now, do you guys have an idea of when we kind of made that turn?
As far
Now that you
as
say it,
downloads,
like- No, not downloads. I'm talking about
Time.
when we kind of found our stride, because I have a sort of idea.
I
was-
Halloween this year was when we found the time stride. I'm pretty sure we
Okay.
had 1 2-hour episode since then, but before that, like during Halloween, most of our episodes were around the hour and a half time. We had, I forget what episode we did that was 2 hours long. We were like, shoot.
and Jay
And
kind
then
of
Cheers.
after Jay fucking perfected it again.
yeah,
Like,
Jay kind of like
Yeah.
truncated
way to go,
his
big guy. You nailed
notes.
thank you. Yeah, it changes
it.
constantly.
DuckTales.
I think there was a point where, we had a shorter version and then your notes become more and more involved and detailed. And as everyone else on the show got more comfortable, they start talking more and everyone starts tangenting more, and it became looser. So I think once everyone kind of got comfortable with the flow of the show and started talking more, it just made everything more lengthy. And then I was getting too line for line with episodes for a while. So that's when they started really stretching out. And then I kind of had to figure out ways to summarize scenes more instead of getting too quote heavy. And we're kind of finding our rhythm as far as that goes. And that's why a show like Seinfeld, we waited 100 episodes to do. That was actually going to be episode 6 at one point.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad we waited.
By the
And
way,
there
that
was
was
this-
my
yeah.
choice for episode 6. It got put
Yeah.
down. So, that's another check in my cap for the champion.
So the
You're
idea
welcome,
has been
everyone.
like, because you have to know yourself. And we know that like everything's a work in progress. And, we hope to get better even 100
Yeah.
episodes from now. So you don't
Exactly.
want to just, if our first block of shows was Friends, Seinfeld, The Office, and like bing, bang, boom, like get all these out right away, then what are we doing in 100 episodes? So you got to kind of hold on to those good ones for a while. Now, when do we do The Office? Who knows? Maybe 200.
Yeah.
Who knows?
At this point.
No,
Well,
episode
we
200
do
was
have
Bob
our
Hart's
2-year
Abishola.
anniversary
Yeah.
coming up.
Well, our
That's Golden
anniversary,
Palace, baby.
yeah, nothing's in the books yet, but I think it's probably going to be Golden Palace, but it could be Bob Hart Abishola.
So you hear all that? Hear that, everyone? You're gonna get Bobcat Goldthwait.
Maybe.
At some
Um,
point.
No,
I
you
feel like
promised.
it's the most optimal show to do it, right?
Probably, yeah, because we use Cavemen as an anniversary episode too. Frank, you mentioned the Muppet Babies theme. That's one of my favorite themes for cartoons as well. I used to do a decent Kermit with that. I don't know if my voice can do it at the moment, but I used
Do
to,
it.
Do it.
Oh boy. When your world looks kind of weird and you wish that you weren't there. It's not great right now. I've done a better Kermit before.
I think it's
You won't do
fantastic.
Bobcat. Come on, man.
Now I want to keep doing Kermit, but I'm not going to be able to do it right.
Just do the rest of the stream in Kermit voice.
I certainly do
Bobcat.
Kermit better than the guy who does Kermit now.
True.
Yeah, that was a bad
Matt
choice.
Vogel is a
Bold
terrible
move.
Kermit.
Who's the big bear? Hey, Fozzie.
No,
is a
don't
show
start
with-
doing
See,
Dirty Muppets.
I think that's the show that
We found
when
ourselves.
we found our
No.
voice.
That's the show that almost made me quit the fucking podcast.
Exactly. That's when we found our voice.
Yeah, that's when everybody found their like defined perfect role of what we do. Thanks, Dave.
See you, Dave. Thanks for
Thank you,
coming
Dave.
on.
Have a good day. So I'll say this to give you guys some behind the curtain stuff. The amount of arguments that spawned from our Muppet
For
episode.
Muppets.
I think I could safely say all of us. I know me and Ferg have lifelong been big Muppet fans. Ferg did not. If you listen to our Muppet episode, because the actual episode itself is kind of dirty, our conversation is kind of dirty as well. And it got so dirty that Ferg basically didn't want us to even release the episode.
I wasn't on that one either. I was bummed.
He was
That's
very
the
mad. He thought the Muppet fan base would turn on us. So there was a lot of arguments, and I had a ton of fun doing that one. Another one, Nick, I'm sorry, I think you weren't in this one either. One of the other shows I had maybe one of the most fun doing was Step by Step. The Step by Step
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
I had a lot of fun
Horny's
with.
Frank.
Horny
Horny
Frank was a
Frank.
good
I was
one.
there
You
for
have
that
no
one.
idea how horny Frank was until you rewatch that show.
Nick, you weren't. Trust me.
I wasn't there for that one.
No,
That's interesting. I thought I was.
I was looking back
Which-
at some of them recently. But
Speaking of which, too, we want to do some T-shirts soon, and there will be a Horny Frank
yeah,
T-shirt in the pipeline
we got to figure out how to
until
make some of
Patrick
those
Duffy
work.
sues us.
That's gonna be the front runner.
That's gonna be an early one, yeah.
I mean,
So,
front runner should just be an S1E1 T-shirt, and then number two
aside
should
from
be
that,
Horny
yeah.
Frank.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I vote Horny Frank first with no branding for the podcast.
I
just
love the
want a shirt
idea of
with Patrick Duffy's
non-branded
face
like
on it.
inside joke shirts because people here will get it. And I think a funny shirt's a funny shirt, right? And if someone here listening is wearing one of our shirts and it doesn't say S1E1, like who cares? How many people see a shirt and then Google it? Like I don't know if that's the best way to like get branding anyways. So if we create fun shirts that people want to wear, I'm cool with that.
They have to buy it through our website, anyways.
But yeah,
That
I mean,
doesn't
guys,
come
at this
to
point,
us.
we've kind of hit the hour mark. I don't know if you guys have any final questions and stuff because we don't want to keep you guys too late, and everyone here's got some stuff to do too. So, Step by Step is a great theme.
It
Um,
really is.
Day by day.
Quite the banger.
Also, go back and rewatch it, and you can see how bad some of that green screen really is in that opening theme song that you did
On
not
a
realize.
roller
as a
coaster.
kid.
Yeah.
And I do want to say this, guys, as far as doing this first live show, we don't know when the best time to do this stuff is. We are very fortunate, and I will say, over the last couple of years, we have been very blessed in that we've gained fans from all over and places I never thought anyone would ever hear me and my friends talk about TV shows. That being said, different time zones come into play. And we're not quite sure when the best time frame is to do some of these things. And we're trying to think of ways to get the most people involved here. Super thankful that we've had those of you that have been in here the whole time talk to us, but that's something we're going to try to talk about and work with. And we want to keep these up so people who weren't able to listen to us can at least watch them after the fact. But we want more of you guys involved. This has been a lot of fun. We didn't know what to expect going into this, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, this was really cool. I'm glad. I saw this chat top out around 30 earlier, so that's really
amazing.
cool.
That's
Thank you,
cool.
guys.
One out of the way.
That's really cool.
To tell
Thank you
people
all.
to come and watch us, talk about us for a little bit and at 9 p.m, that was really cool. So
Wish we could, but
Yeah.
I might be
Um,
working at 4 a.m, so I'm just punishing myself at this point, but same time zone, great. Yeah, Eastern Standard. I've always
we have a
felt-
lot more across the pond fans than I would have ever guessed. I think
Oh,
DH
yeah.
Blair is
Yeah, me too.
over there somewhere, so he's up late right now. We got a few other ones. It's just like you said, it's really tough to accommodate a time that fits everyone.
Yeah, it's
and
funny, too.
unfortunately, they're gonna take the worst of it.
Yeah, we joke about it internally. We're going over some numbers, and I don't want to get into specific numbers or anything like that, but we were looking at just the month of March so far, and like our home state isn't even in the top 3 anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
so it's like it's cool because we see our numbers go up, but we know it's not from any of our friends or anything like that
Yeah.
anymore. So I guess that's good. So the people who listen like genuinely like the show, and it's not because they know us. So that's not that some people that don't listen, but
Funny story about Joe and his weird accent is he tries so hard to cover up the fact that he does naturally have a Boston accent because
I
this is
don't.
where he
No
was
one in my
born and-
family does.
It's
but
not
he ends up
hereditary,
having
Joe.
like these weird
yeah, it's true.
pronunciations.
People at work ask me all the time. Like customers ask me if I'm Canadian all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
can
don't
see
think
it,
any
yeah.
of us have thick Boston accents either. I think we put it on.
Well, I
Like
had
when we
mentioned this
want to.
before. When we were at Joe's wedding, me and our friend Doug, who's in here somewhere, we're like, just talking to each other. We'd had a few drinks, and Joe comes over and he's like, "You guys, man, when you start drinking, your Boston accents, really count." He's like, "It's like this is where we live." Like, I don't know why you're surprised that we
Yeah, I
have
know
these
that
accents.
we have
like,
Boston accents. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ryan, as far as like our podcast host goes, we can see our total downloads, we can see how many unique listeners we have per day. I don't know what other platforms allow. We happen to use Podbean. I don't know what everyone else offers, but we've had a pretty good situation with them since we've started. No real complaints there. There are some analytics I wish we could see, but we know our daily downloads, how many different listeners per day. But
Yeah,
really
we
it's
track that.
interaction.
And we track
And we
that.
say this, we say this all the time. We've been very blessed in that those numbers go up month to month, but our social media is where we try to engage with people, but that's not always the best gauge to see where we're at with things because there's just a lot more actual downloads than there are followers on our socials. And that's fine, but doing things like live shows and stuff, it's really tough to test out. So we're just trying to learn everything. But I think I don't know, guys. I think we've pretty much exhausted everything we could do for tonight. I love this and I'd like to keep going, but I think we've pretty much hit past our initial time we planned on doing. And
I mean, there's no real time limit, but yeah, I mean, we just have. It's getting late, and I mean, this was really fun, and I would be surprised if we never did it again. So I think we'll be doing it again sooner
we've
than
switched
sooner than later for sure.
We've switched our recording format so we can do this. So we are invested. Hey, Mom.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Mom.
Hey. So I would guarantee we're probably going to do something like this again. Where and when we don't know yet, and what the theme or if it'll be casual format, but we kind of know we have this now, so we can always hop on whenever and maybe plan something. But this was a great test run, and we are super, super thankful for all of you who joined us and anyone who listens to this after the fact. Just the same, I want to remind everyone, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to everywhere we can listen to us, all our social medias, like, follow, review, subscribe, all that stuff. And just keep doing this, guys. This has been awesome. Really, really thankful that we did 100 episodes in 100 weeks. Very crazy. Our schedule is wild. 5 very different people, 5 different schedules. So pulling it off has been really awesome. That was always the goal in my head. Make it to 100. Let's do 100. Let's keep going. And now we already have another one in the can. And here's to 200, guys. And let's see how far we take this. So it's been real fun. And I guess on a personal level to all you guys, like I said, 4 of you are 4 of my oldest friends. And it's, if anything, with all the work, with all the arguments and everything that goes along with it, to have an opportunity to have a creative outlet with my oldest friends and being able to have a reason to force us to stay in communication at all times and not lose touch has been really great. And, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, right back at you. I mean, if it weren't for this, I mean, I would very rarely see Joe and Gordo, and I mean, Ferg and Jay, we live in the same town still. So the chances of us bumping into each other are at least higher. But yeah, it's really cool that we get to do this every week. It's, sometimes it's a stressful burden depending on how stressed out you are, but most of the time it's just a lot of fun. So I'm very appreciative for it and you guys.
Yeah, I would replace you all with gorillas in a second.
I'll take my shirt off then, I guess.
I'm just kidding. It's nothing but love. You're all my best friends, and I love doing this every week. I don't consider it work. It's great.
When he decides to wake up.
Yeah, when
this
he
is almost as
decides.
fun.
Oh
as
my
when the
God, I
5 of
slept
us
through
all
one
went to go see
episode.
Wedding Singer.
I love.
What'd you say, Joe? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I said I love hanging out with you guys almost as much as the time the 5 of us went to go see The Wedding Singer. And I'm glad that we get to relive it every week.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Jerk.
I will say you guys are, my best friends, and I love doing this with you guys. This part is awesome when we just sit down, chat, and like we make each other laugh and shit. And there's just sometimes, you're going through things, and there's been a lot of times that through this you've pulled me through it. So, thank you. You guys know what's going on in the back end, like me doing the school and all that other stuff.
Unfortunately, we know way too much about Gordo's
We know
back
way
end.
too much about my back end. You never even told us about the origin story about the time that we were flying kites, Jay,
Oh,
and that
Jesus.
you shit your pants in the
I want to bring one more little
COVID
tidbit up
protocol,
before we
Frank.
close out.
Yeah.
Here's a little fun fact. So we've been doing this show for almost 2 years now. In about a month, we'll be celebrating 2 years. 5 of us have been friends for over 30 years. The 5 of us have not all been in the same room since before we had a podcast.
I was thinking about this the other day. I
Is-
think the last time I saw Joe was his wedding.
No, Jay's barbecue
No,
when we
Jay's
watched
barbecue.
wrestling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did the
Oh,
we did
that's
the-
right. Yeah,
we watched
yeah.
our old high school wrestling thing.
That was
the
during
last time we
COVID.
gathered.
Yeah, that was and I went up to Joe with the non-alcoholic beer and I went, "Hey, you want to try it?" And Joe's like, "It's the middle of a pandemic, idiot." I remember that.
And then our friend Tom walked up and was like, "I haven't seen you in so long," and kissed me
Kissed
right on
you,
the
like,
lips.
right
And
after,
I was
yeah.
like, "But come on, it's
And that's when
COVID."
Joe went, "That's it. I'm never hanging out with anybody."
It's like-
again."
They never saw
out.
him again.
Oh, we got an official invite from Joe's wife to go by whenever we want. So
Oh, hi,
Likewise,
honey.
you-
I didn't know you were there.
So, all right, guys, I think it's time to close out. So thanks again for everyone who was listening. It's been a blast. We'll figure out another one in the future, but take care, guys. Until next time. Okay. This is